Welcome to Inspiring People, the show about inspiring people, those who are inspired and those who inspire others. We all know them. They're good examples, they're supportive, they embrace life, they live inspiring lives in their day-to-day actions, and in turn, inspire others to do the same. Hi, welcome to Inspiring People. My name is Mary Otto. I'm the host of the show. And with me today are two guests. First of all, Orlo Gilbert. Welcome to the show, Orlo.
Thank you.
And Orlo brought along another guest, and this is Rhonda Burnham. Thank you for being on the show, Rhonda. And Rhonda's role, as she explained it to me, and maybe you'd like to just share that with the viewers from the onset, is to do what, Rhonda? What is your role on the show today?
My role is to express that Orlo is a very special person and the influence he's had over thousands of students, and he's a very humble person and would never admit to it.
Okay, so we're going to get two perspectives maybe on some of the answers he gives, right?
Sure.
Okay. Well, first of all, Orlo, would you state your full name?
Orlo Ray Gilbert.
Okay, and where were you born and raised, Orlo?
South Dakota, western South Dakota, in Belfourche.
Okay.
And my mother always said when I knew I was in trouble, it was Orlo Ray. Otherwise, it was just Orlo.
Okay. And brothers and sisters?
One brother.
One brother. And your parents, for example, what did your dad do for a living?
My dad was, well, for a very short time, he was a sheep herder. And, but he was well educated. He has a college degree in science.
Wow.
But his dad wanted him to come back to the farm. So that's where he ended up. And that's where I grew up, is on a sheep ranch.
Okay, so what do you remember most, or what are your fondest memories of being on that sheep farm?
I always wanted to be a sheep herder. That was it.
That was it, huh?
That's as far as I cared to go.
And you did make a different path, though, for your career, did you not?
Yeah, it turned around a little bit.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your college education, where you went to college, what your major was, and what you ended up or have been doing for the rest of your life.
I finished college at La Sierra College, which I guess is called Loma Linda University now, in Riverside, California, with a major in music and violin performance and education.
Okay.
And I got my master's from Madison State University in Virginia.
Okay. And where did you go after that? How long were you on the East Coast or the Southeast?
Well, I taught 2 years in San Diego. As a band and orchestra director in the high school in San Diego, and then we went for 4 years to Virginia. And during that time in Virginia, I had the band and orchestra in a private high school, a Seventh-day Adventist school in Newmarket, Virginia. And at that time, that's when I got my master's at Madison University. And at the same time, in the summers, I'd go to University of Minnesota and transfer the credits. Okay. So half my master's is from Minnesota and half is from Virginia.
Great combination.
Yeah, the best part was from Minnesota.
Minnesota, absolutely. And Rhonda, where along the line in Orlo's career did you link up with him?
Well, after he left Virginia, he went to Tennessee to teach at the college, and he also at the same time started a Suzuki Strings program in the elementary school. And so my parents plopped me right in there, right off the bat, and that's where we got acquainted. Okay.
She was just a little girl. I bet she hasn't grown up much yet.
And so then you started there, and then how did you guys keep in touch, or how did you?
Well, I was there all the way through elementary school and high school and the college. Okay. And I ended up being a violin major. Okay, and so tell me a little bit about how Orlo has inspired you. Well, when I got to college, I went through the usual list back in the 70s of, was I going to be a nurse? No. Elementary teacher? No. Secretary, accounting? No, none of that. What did I really like? I love the orchestra. So I kind of fell into it because Orlo made the orchestra so fun, and it was a wonderful experience. And by the time I graduated, that's what I wanted to do with my students, was show them how wonderful it was and how much music meant and the relationships you could have with it. And
I think you played with us for 8 years, didn't you? You were almost all 4 years in your high school.
Yeah, I played with them for 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when I graduated, they couldn't get rid of me. I'd come back all the
play
time.
Concerts.
Concerts as many as I could get there for.
Okay. Well, and isn't it fun to have an influence like that in your life? And now, how did you two both end up in Detroit Lakes? How did you end up here, you and your family?
Well, my wife's parents owned Riverside Place Resort on South Melissa. And they wanted to retire from it, so we bought it from them in 1978. So we spent our summers here. And my wife taught nursing at the university where we were. And so she spent the first summers with us here. Well, then she quit teaching and went into hospital psychiatric nursing and hospital administration. And so she couldn't get her summers off. So for the next few years, the last few years we ran the resort, she didn't come in the summer. Okay. But they would come up in the summer, she and her family, and her husband, and then later on they had a child, a boy, who's now 21. And they came up for years, and they'd spend a week or so with us, with me every year, and kind of keep me company. And it was a fun event.
Great. Well, I know one of your pastimes and one of the things you do, and perhaps some of you have seen an article about Orlo in the Detroit Lakes newspaper not that long ago. And so in addition to music, and we'll come back to that in a little bit, but in addition to music, what's your other big love that you have outside of music?
Well, antique cars. Okay. And they've been with us, that love has been with me since I was a little kid. And when we were first married, my wife still says to this day that she sacrificed food and couldn't even afford cottage cheese because I was buying parts for antique cars.
That's a fine woman that does that, Orlo, just so you know. Okay.
And so that when we moved here, I built the storage building for the antique cars before we built a house. And people would drive by our place and look at what, and people came to me and said, "Are you the one building the house and you get the shed first? What kind of a wife do you have? Tell us about her."
A wonderful woman. That's another reason, really. Not many women would do that, Orlo. So
no,
you are
I know
indeed lucky that way. You are indeed lucky. So what was your first car?
No, my first car was a 1926 Buick.
1926.
I paid $75 for it.
Okay, and was that a working car? Or
yeah.
It was?
Oh, yeah, that's a car we used to go back and forth to the farm.
Okay. And what are some of the other vehicles for those people out there who are also into antique cars? What are some of your prize cars?
Okay, we have my in-laws' parents, or my in-laws, Ellen's parents, 41 Ford Woody that some of you have seen in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And that car now has won the national award, probably, well, they call it what do I want to say? The Emmy of...
Oh, the Emmy, or the Oscar.
Oscar of antique cars, okay. And so we've been real proud of that. But I have a 1917 Model T Ford Roadster, a 1925 Model T Depot Hack, 1914 Willis Overland that I'm restoring currently. It belonged to my great-grandfather. I hope I don't have any more family cars that's costing me too much. And a 55 Thunderbird, Ford Thunderbird, 2 Corvairs, 46 Ford dump truck, couple of tractors. That's enough, no more.
Oh, you have more than that, but those are some of the ones that you can remember right offhand. Well, along with that, we want to get back to your music career and some of the things that you continue to do in the area of music. We're going to touch base again about your car, your love of cars, and this part of the state and so on when we come back with part 2 of our interview with you and with Rhonda. So join us for part 2 of this interview next time.